Glad we talked about it in the second segment, mentioning Kelly Oubre, the loss of him, and how badly the Hornets need some scoring, just period, but even just some bench scoring. Well, they just might get it on Wednesday night against the Boston Celtics. Kelly Oubre is now out of health and safety protocols. This reported real time about a couple of minutes ago as we're
had me at out there.
Yeah, he's out of health and safety protocols.
He's out
He's
of health and safety protocols.
But he's questionable for this game against the Boston Celtics. So who knows if he plays?
I want
answers.
answers.
There's availability. I know.
I don't want
some
questions.
Answers.
I want answers.
Stay tight with the Hornets, Doug. Just stay tight with them. They're going to be giving you all the answers, hopefully, as the week goes on. And maybe Wednesday, hopefully, we'll get to see Kelly Oubre back in the purple and teal. Another thing real quickly, I saw Jason Huber tweet this out. Michelob Ultra, they're introducing NBA cans for, I think, every single NBA team. I think the Hornets one is awesome. I think that one looks great. Budweiser did this. They were a little bit more classic with the old school Hornets logo at the top. I thought Budweiser knocked it out of the park. But this one, it's loud, baby. Like, I know Michelob Ultra, they're going to need to put some loud stuff on their can to make it attractive for you to go maybe purchase it. But it looks very, very good. Hats off to Michelob Ultra.
Oh, you got a mention of ball in there. You've got the blue line. You've got some neat, couple of neat little things. I don't know what I'm missing the feather. I don't understand what the feather means.
Yeah, no feathers on the Hornets. No,
I don't
think
know.
Bugs have
That's
feathers like
that's
that.
got to be an allusion to something Charlotte, but I don't know what it is. But anyway, yeah, cool can.
Yeah, it is a very cool can. So shouts to Mick Ultra for the can. All right, let's get to your buddy's question, Doug. What did your buddy ask you over the weekend that had you a little perplexed for the future?
Well, so he saw Miles Bridges, and he knows that Miles Bridges is in contention for most improved player. Saw him drop 38 in the Garden, as a lot of people did, checking in on the Hornets. Career high for Miles Bridges, almost has the 40 burger. So he wondered aloud, is Miles Bridges a top 10 player in Hornets history? I quickly told him, no, he's definitely not a top 10 player in Hornets history. But it got me thinking, Walker, what would it take for Miles Bridges to become a top 10 player in Hornets history?
Yeah, it's an interesting question, and I think you're kind of asking me to bring up my top 30 Hornets list. That was the first. I think no, it is.
I'm not asking you to do that because
what's that?
It got flamed when you brought it out the first time.
Hey, that's what lists are made for, Doug. It's not just my list. Mine was fantastic. It's that all list. They all get destroyed. Miles Bridges is somebody that does not appear in the top 10 right now, but I think it always comes down to really one question, as if you have a shot to be on this list. It's longevity. And you don't even have to be amazing to be a top 10 player.
Well, no, because the pool isn't deep. And that's what I told my friend. It's like, it's not terribly ridiculous that you asked that question. It's a little ridiculous, but not terribly ridiculous because the pool is not deep. Now, if Miles Bridges at this moment were a top 10 Hornets player of all time, that would be pretty embarrassing for the Hornets franchise in general. Luckily, there are 10 players and possibly maybe even 15 that are better than Miles Bridges' career at this point.
All right, let's revisit it because as this was the first project I ever took on as a host of the Locked On Hornets podcast, and I don't like the list even myself. I understand why some of the people got mad at this list. If there's one big change I would make towards the top, I would flip LJ and Alonzo. Like, I was so, by my arbitrary rules, it was my list. I was unapologetic about that. But even with my messed up rules, I have Alonzo second. I'd put that to third. Like Larry Johnson is second, and I apologize to the people. I was in ruffling some feathers that are on the Michelob Ultra Hornets can. Number 1 is Kemba Walker. 2, I'd put LJ now, but it was Alonzo. 3 is LJ. Like Muggsy, Glenn Rice, Del Curry, Baron Davis, Gerald Wallace, Al Jefferson, Anthony Mason, they're all ahead of Miles Bridges, and that's who I have as the top 10 Hornets list right now.
Yeah, no, there's an argument for Big Al. There's an argument for Mash's brief run. I'll make the argument. There's not a huge argument, but I'll make the argument that Mash. Well, here's why, and this sort of leads this into the Miles Bridges conversation. What Miles needs is either to be good to really good for a long period of time. So the Hornets are going to have to offer him what looks like a max contract at this point, and he's going to have to accept it and stay in Charlotte for 4 or 5 more seasons of this level of production. So avoiding injury and producing what he's producing now, not over his career. Because if you look at his career numbers, 28 minutes per game, 46.6 field goal percentage. 3-point percentage is 34.7, points per game 12.3, rebounds 5.5. Like, that's not the only top 10 that I'm just scrolling through the career leaders for the Hornets. The only top 10 I'm seeing is 3-point field goals and 3-point field goal attempts. He's number 10 on that list,
which is obviously changed because the game has changed.
Right, the game's changed. That's not necessarily a reflection of Miles Bridges' prowess necessarily. So he's got some work to do that would necessitate him being with the franchise, or he needs an accomplishment. That's the thing.
Right.
Like, I put MASH up there because MASH helped lead some teams that were like almost Eastern Conference finalist contenders.
Yeah, Jamal was fun, man. The reason I put him at 15 at the time, and I don't have a huge problem with it. It's a little low, and I get it, but I still have no problem just because the longevity wasn't as much. And it's not like that team was full of awesome dudes. Like David Wesley had the longevity. Baron Davis was awesome. He's a top 10 Hornet. I don't think there's any doubt about that with the time that he was here. But if you look at like the top 10 overall, I feel like most people maybe want to disagree with the order, but top 10, I feel pretty good about the players that are listed there. Al Jefferson, All-NBA, Bobcat savior with a franchise that had been
leads a
awful.
couple of categories for the Hornets.
Anthony Mason. Man, awesome player, underrated. Weird Hornets time, but Anthony Mason, kind of a do-it-all type of guy. I think top 10 there. Maybe you want to argue whatever. Man, was he an all-star with the Hornets? I think he was, and I think that's an accomplishment that he was able to reach during his career. Gerald Wallace, B. Diddy, Del Curry, 6th Man of the Year, ambassador, and one of the best shooters of all time. Glenn Rice, Muggsy Bogues is the only one that didn't have this crazy sense of accomplishment, but was a part of the most successful Hornets teams too, and just a huge novelty, man. Like, when you're the shortest player in NBA history, and you're actually good, like you're a good, legitimate starting NBA point guard, then you're going to be in the top 5, especially off popularity. Like, Miles has a shot. LaMelo is clearly going to be in the top 10 list as long as he stays here, right?
He's already in. He's number 4 on the triple doubles list already with 3.
Right.
Mason has 7. Batum had 5. Larry Johnson had 5. LaMelo and Baron Davis right now tied at 3.
Yeah, like LaMelo's not an interesting conversation. We've talked about him. The question about LaMelo is, does he become the best Charlotte Hornet of all time?
I think LaMelo's going to be top 10 even if he doesn't re-sign, like even if he doesn't have sort of the 7 or 8 years.
Yeah, like give LaMelo 3-4 years, he's probably top 10, unless he does something Zoe-like, spurn the franchise. People are pissed about it, can't get over it, and then they want him out.
But even so, after doing that, tops the list.
Well, I know, but people weren't happy about it. Like they don't want Zoe in there. But even with that being said, like the interesting conversation about LaMelo is, does he get number 1? When does he get number 1? Does he sign a second contract, and how long does he stay? Like with Miles, the point being, there's an absolute shot for Miles to be top 10 with his.
The Hornets have to sign him,
and
he has to accept that.
Yeah, he does.
And that's a big question mark at this point. Hey, before we go, do you want some fun top 10 stat? Just going through these top 10 stats.
Always.
Do you want some fun stats?
Always.
Billy Hernangomez leads a lot of these: player efficiency rating, offensive rebound percentage, defensive rebound percentage. Billy Hernangomez at the top of the list. Dwight Howard's one season tops a lot of the effective field goal percentage. Let's see. He leads field goal, just regular old field goal percentage. One of the more, those are kind of just weird because they only played a few seasons.
Well, and PER is like a big man stat. Like Boban Marjanovic is somebody that's like one of the best, has the best PER ever or something like that. Something crazy anyway.
The two stats that I think are going to be really difficult for anyone to overcome. One, I think LaMelo will have a shot at, and that's value over replacement player, VORP. Kemba Walker is 24.8 over Gerald Wallace at 19.1. That's a huge gap. And then defensive win shares. Would you like to take a guess at who leads the Charlotte franchise in defensive win shares?
Well, I mean, my two guesses, it would be Zoe and it would be Gerald, who was one of like 4 players ever to average over 2 blocks and 2 steals for a season. And I know that season alone probably got him a decent amount because they love the block and the steal stats. So I'll go with both of those as my guesses.
Yeah, Zoe's not even in the top 10. It's Gerald
surprised.
Wallace at 25.5. The next player down is Kemba Walker at 17.3. And so that's a humongous gap, and Kemba had to play here forever to get to 17.3. So I don't know if that one's going to get touched. There was another interesting stat that I wanted to mention. Oh, just total defensive rebounds. Kemba Walker is 4th on that list at 1968, above Cody Zeller, above Anthony Mason, above Biz. It's just incredible that Kemba was here for so long and did so many great things that he's 4th all time on defensive rebounds.
And we can't end the show without mentioning Miles and Kemba's moment at Madison Square Garden.
Okay,
the interview,
love it.
the interview with Ashley Shamity. Kemba Walker going over there to Miles, them having a big-time moment. Ashley having the presence of mind. Obviously, you're going to ask that question, but still allowing them to do that. Camera gets to see it. We're all teary-eyed at home as Charlotte fans. She even, mentions, hey, this is a special moment for the city of Charlotte. So shouts to Ashley for recognizing that and kind of touching home where the feeling was. And then Miles said, that was my mentor. That's somebody that I really respect, and saying we need this in 15 again. We need this Hornets jersey in 15. So pretty cool moment to end that Knicks game.
Well, and you think about it, like the leap that Miles had between his rookie season to his sophomore season to his junior season and to now, like I think that starts by playing with a Kemba-like player. Like if Miles gets drafted and there's not that player on the team who has that level of dedication and can be an example, I'm not saying it's impossible for a player to exist within that sort of framework and be successful, but I think it'd be really difficult. And I think Miles, certainly, it's nice that Miles understands that he's like, I got to play with that level of player, and that meant a lot to me. So that's super cool moment.
Yeah, I mean, remember the Avengers? They would all have dinner. It was Kemba, and then it was like the young players: Devontae Graham, Dwayne Bacon, Miles, Malik Monk, all of those guys. It was like the Avengers list where Kemba was the leader of that team. Pretty cool to see him actually do that, and Miles still have so much respect for a guy like Kemba and vice versa. All right, make sure you make your second listen Locked On Bets after your first listen is Locked On Hornets. Your Locked On Bets is your daily one-stop shop for all of your gambling needs. So Locked On Bets is hosted by your boy Q with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. It's free and available on all platforms. You have a game against the Boston Celtics tomorrow between them and the Hornets. Wes Bryant should be joining us for West Wednesdays. We'll talk all about it. Join us tomorrow on the Locked On Hornets podcast.